Part 1. Phrasal verbs. A. Abandon oneself to.
Jane abandoned herself to despair.
Abbreviate to.
Acquired immune deficiency syndrome is usually abbreviated to AIDS.
Abide by.
If you join the club, you must abide by its rules.
Abound in. Abound with.
The forests abound with monkeys and squirrels.
Abscond with.
The bank manager absconded with a huge amount of money.
Absent oneself from.
He often absents himself from work.
Absolve of. Absolve from.
He was absolved of the blame.
Absorb oneself in.
He absorbed himself in his work.
Absorb into.
It is hard for migrant workers to be absorbed into the mainstream society.
Abstain from.
He has abstained from alcohol.
Abut on.
His house abuts on mine.
Accede to.
My father won't accede to my request.
Accept as.
We gradually began to accept Tom as one member of the family.
Accept into.
The newcomer was quickly accepted into the class.
Acclaim as.
He was acclaimed as the greatest pianist of his generation.
Acclaim for.
She was widely acclaimed for her courage.
Acclimatize oneself to.
I found it hard to acclimatize myself to such a severe weather.
Accommodate oneself to.
You should soon accommodate yourself to the new environment.
Accord to.
Helen accords high priority to the quality of life.
Accord with.
What you have just said does not accord with what you told us last week.
Account for.
He had to account to his boss for every dollar he spent on his business trip.
Accredit to.
The discovery of America is accredited to Columbus.
Accumulate from.
Jack has accumulated a huge debt from gambling.
Accuse of.
Jane was accused of taking bribes.
Accustom oneself to.
You have to accustom yourself to your new job.
Ache for.
She was aching for home.
Acknowledge as.
Mr. Leong is widely acknowledged as an authority on Shakespeare.
Acquaint oneself with.
She always takes the trouble to acquaint herself with her students' interests.
Acquiesce in.
Reluctantly, my parents acquiesced in my marriage to Susan.
Acquit of.
Johnson was acquitted of murder.
Act as.
He acted as an interpreter.
Act on.
The drug doesn't take long to act on the nerve centers.
Act out.
Amy seized any chance to act out her fantasies.
Act up.
My tooth decay has been acting up again.
Adapt oneself to.
Tim can't adapt to the idea of having a woman as his boss.
Adapt for.
The novel was adapted for the movie.
Add to.
The rise in oil prices has added to our problems.
Add to.
Add a few more names to the list.
Add up.
Add up these numbers and tell me the answer.
Add up to.
The bill added up to $250.
Adhere to.
Chewing gum adhered to my pants.
Adjust oneself to.
Harry adjusted himself very quickly to the climate of this country.
Admire for.
I admire her for her courage.
Admit to.
That boy admitted to cheating on the exam.
Admit to. Admit into.
He was admitted to the club.
Admonish for.
My teacher admonished Tom for telling a lie.
Adorn with.
The walls of her room are adorned with pictures of her favorite singers.
Advise against.
My mother advised me against taking up with that guy.
Advise of.
Please advise me of any changes in the delivery dates.
Advise on.
Mr. Smith advises the president on foreign affairs.
Affiliate to. Affiliate with.
Some newspapers are known to be affiliated with political parties.
Afflict with.
Some African countries are often afflicted with famine.
Agitate for.
Some legislators agitated for tax cuts.
Agonize about. Agonize over.
I agonized for several days about whether I should retire early.
Agree to.
My father won't agree to my sister entering on a career in politics.
Agree with.
I don't agree with your proposal.
Agree with on. Agree with about.
I agree with you on this movie. It is terrific.
Aim at. Aim for.
We aim at preventing crime.
Aim at.
Jassy aimed his gun at the bird in the tree.
Alert to.
We must alert consumers to the possibility of further oil price rises.
Alienate from.
Students who are alienated from normal school life are likely to be led astray.
Align oneself with.
The victims of the February 28th massacre and their offspring align themselves with the DPP, many of whose members are themselves the children of the mass killing.
Allocate for.
$10 million have been allocated for building a new school in this area.
Allow for.
The cost of building a house will be $3 million, which allows for the 3% inflation.
Allude to.
Under the reign of Zhang, no one dared to allude to the February 28th massacre, let alone talk about it publicly, which would have landed them in jail.
Ally oneself with.
A small country tends to ally itself with a stronger power.
Alternate between and.
The weather alternates between rain and sunshine.
Alternate with.
Sunshine alternated with showers.
Alternate with.
Students are asked to alternate their uniforms with casual clothes.
Amount to.
My savings amount to over $1,000.
Amuse with.
She amused us with her romance.
Angle for.
She is angling for sympathy.
Annex to.
The Japanese government once annexed Korea to its own country.
Answer back.
Don't answer your parents back. It is impolite.
Answer for.
I will answer for her safety.
Answer to for.
You have to answer to me for any money you use.
Apologize to for.
I apologize to you for stepping on your foot.
Appeal to.
Classical music doesn't seem to appeal to teenagers.
Appeal to against.
The defendant has decided to appeal to the High Court against the sentence.
Appeal to for. Appeal to.
The president is appealing to his people for solidarity in the face of the economic crisis.
Append to.
A bibliography is appended to this paper.
Appertain to.
Privileges appertaining to lawmakers should be revoked.
Applaud for.
I applauded Ted for having the courage to say no to his boss.
Apply for.
30 people applied for the position of marketing manager.
Apply oneself to.
Jack applied himself to finding the solution to the problem.
Apply to.
We have to apply the same law to everyone. No one is above the law.
Apply to.
The new traffic rules do not apply to the countryside.
Appoint as.
They appointed him as chairman.
Appoint to.
Sam has been appointed to the vacant post.
Appoint for.
We should appoint a date for a family get-together.
Apprise of.
The Prime Minister was apprised of the release of the 3 hostages.
Appropriate for.
The legislators from the opposition parties refused to appropriate any money for the arms procurement.
Approve of.
I don't approve of smoking in the office.
Arbitrate between and.
Miss Rice was asked to arbitrate the dispute between Israel and Palestine.
Argue against.
He argued against abortion.
Argue back.
Whenever Peter voices an opinion, his wife argues back.
Argue down.
He is an eloquent speaker. I am afraid we cannot argue him down.
Argue for.
No one argued for building another incinerator.
Argue into.
He argued the president into cutting taxes.
Argue out of.
I argued him out of retiring early.
Argue with over. Argue with about.
John often argues with his friends over money.
Arise from.
The accident arose from drunken driving.
Arm oneself with.
Billy armed himself with a pistol before he went to the meeting.
Arouse from.
The children's shouts aroused me from my deep sleep.
Arrange for to.
I have arranged for a doctor to see you.
Arrange with to.
I have arranged with her to meet at the restaurant.
Arrest for.
That man was arrested for robbery.
Arrive at. Arrive in.
Alice should be arriving in Taipei now.
Arrogate to oneself.
He arrogated to himself the power to use the car.
Ascribe to.
They ascribed the decline in the birth rate to the high cost of living.
Ask about.
My mother asked about my new job.
Ask after.
Miss Wong often asks after you in her letters.
Ask for.
The workers are asking for a pay raise.
Ask for.
Janice asked me for a drink.
Ask of.
Can I ask a question of you?
Aspire to.
She aspired to fame.
Assail for.
He was assailed for gross negligence.
Assail with.
He was assailed with insults.
Assent to.
My boss has assented to my project.
Assess at.
The real estate agent assessed my house at 6 million NT dollars.
Assign to.
My teacher assigned a research job to me.
Assimilate into.
Migrant workers find it difficult to become assimilated into mainstream society.
Assist in.
We should assist the police in hunting down the robber.
Associate oneself with.
I have never associated myself with violence.
Associate with.
I always associate lilacs with spring.
Associate with.
I have told you not to associate with that guy. He is a crook.
Assure of.
Dick assured me of his ability to work out the answer.
Atone for.
He atoned for his sin.
Attach oneself to.
Ted attached himself to Amy all the time.
Attach to.
Please attach a photograph to your application form.
Attend on. Attend upon.
She has been attending on her sick father for several years.
Attend to.
Are you attending to what I am saying?
Attend to.
I must have someone attend to the baby for a few minutes while I am away.
Attest to.
The DNA test attested to her guilt.
Attribute to.
He attributed his success to hard work.
Attune to.
If your business is to flourish, it has to be really attuned to the needs of the market.
Auction off.
His paintings have been auctioned off.
Avail oneself of.
I avail myself of every chance to speak English.
Avenge oneself on.
He was determined to avenge himself on the person who had trumped up a false charge against him.
Average out.
The annual profits averaged out at 30%.
Awake to.
We must awake to the danger of AIDS.
Awaken from.
He was awakened from a deep sleep by an air raid siren.
Awaken to.
We have to awaken the textbook writers to the needs of our students.
Awe into.
The spectators were all awed into silence by his acrobatics.